Check it out.
Hello?
Hey, Bree, how you doing?
Hey, good, pretty good. How are you, Mario?
I'm doing all right. Hey, I was psyched to see you and Cameron climbing last week. How did your session go?
It was pretty good. Haven't been on ropes in a while. I feel like I just need to start training a little bit more again. What was that hangboard you mentioned to us?
It was a flashboard. And I think it's the best one because you can use it indoors, you can use it outdoors. It doesn't really matter where you use it. You can hang it on stuff. You don't have to mount it to your wall, so it's pretty dope.
Oh, that's great because I feel like I can't put holes anywhere in my house, but
yeah,
that's awesome. Where can I get it?
You can go to Tension's website, and then whenever you do, just drop in the promo code Tension SAS20. You'll get 20% off. You'll support the podcast, and yeah, but then they'll get it to you on the quickness.
Oh, sick. Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Are you guys climbing again this weekend?
Yeah, I think we'll hit up maybe the new rope gym down in the Design District.
Oh, the new movement is finally open. Nice.
Finally, after our long wait.
I know. That's a long wait, but I'm excited. Well, I'm looking forward to climbing with both of you guys, and I'll see you guys this weekend.
Yeah, I'll catch you later. Bye.
Bye.
Friends and enemies, lovers and haters, welcome to Sends and Suffers podcast. I am your host, Mario Stanley. If you haven't already, please follow, like, and subscribe to Sends and Suffers podcast. Every bit counts, and we would love to hear from you. So take a moment to leave a comment. These go a long way and help others know what they're getting into and how good this show is. If this is one of your favorite podcasts, consider becoming a Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, you are investing in Sends and Suffers podcast, and it's like buying your boy a taco, hanging out, and getting to know the good that is coming your way. Monthly recaps, early show releases, and all the other cool things that we do. Thank you so much for listening to Sends and Suffers podcasts.
Today's episode is with someone who is not of tall stature, but is mighty in power. Mary Eden, a.k.a. the Trad Princess. I think she truly embodies the phrase, a jack of all trade is a master of none, but is often better than a master of one. Artist, climber, guide, photographer. The woman just tries to do it all, and she does it pretty well. I know we just mentioned this, but if you haven't already, please take a moment to leave a comment, like or follow this podcast on whatever platform you listen to. Those things do this podcast a huge favor in metrics. And this whole world of liking and posting and metrics and trying to get this show out there, that's the simplest thing that you guys can do. So smash that subscribe button, smash the like button or the heart button or whatever it is, and leave a little comment. I would love to know what you're thinking. This is something that we do pay attention to. And without any further ado, here is Mary Eden, the Trad Princess, and a wild conversation. Who are you?
Who am I?
Yes.
I'm Mary Catherine Eden. It's
right.
what it says legally.
All right, and where are you from? Like, where are you from? Meaning, like, your formative years. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Kentucky. I'm born and raised in Kentucky, and yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, what is your connection to the outdoors, and how did that begin?
I mean, I don't know. I've always been really connected to the outdoors, I guess, because of the way I grew up. I grew up in a really, I don't know, I had a really awesome childhood in the way that, like, my family was really poor, but they owned a lot of property that was passed down. Mm-hmm. It was like 800 acres, and we have,
wow.
yeah. And we were next to a neighbor who didn't actually live there, but they had like 1,200 acres. And then, like, we were surrounded by people who just had like big plots of land. And like, my nearest neighbor was like a mile away. And our driveway was like an old logging road. That's a half mile drive in. And it's like rutted as all heck. And like, so I don't know, like me in the outdoors, like that's how I always was, you know. We didn't have internet, you know. I didn't
How
really.
old are you?
I'm 30. Yeah.
It's funny, your childhood remind me, so we're not that far apart, so I'm 38.
Yeah.
But your childhood reminds me much of mine, because I was talking to some people earlier about like the first electronic I ever had was a pager.
Yeah.
But it was only because my parents, I would be riding my bike out in the back of the country or in the woods as long as I possibly could. And that's cool. So I guess, when did the transition happen to, I guess, modern rock climbing, like what you're known for today?
Oh, I guess, you know, when I was like a kid, my sibling is like 10 years older than me, so I was
Are you
like
the baby of the family?
Yeah.
How many?
Oh, she had babies, so I'm not really the baby of the family. So 10 years difference.
Okay.
And yeah, it was just very lonely, honestly. There was no neighborhood kids. School was too far away to be involved in sports or activities. So I was just really bored and lonely. That's probably why I don't have a lot of good social skills.
I think you do all right.
I remember when I first moved to Moab from Kentucky, I thought Moab was a huge town. I was so in awe of how many people there were around. I was just like, wow, there's people to talk to, to be around, and to do things with. And I was just like kind of in awe about that. Because like when I was growing up, it was a lot of like solo adventures of like just dicking off in the woods, you know, and like we would go caving and we'd go canoeing, and like I had a horse. I rode my horse everywhere.
Did you do like
I had
it was
a dog
just
and a horse.
social riding?
No, just by myself.
Oh, wow.
I had a dog and a horse. And,
How many siblings did you have?
one. 10 years older. She, you know, yeah.
Okay, just one sibling.
Yeah.
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
She
moved out when I was like 7, so.
You really did have a very rural upbringing.
Yeah,
and
I did.
I don't know if that's really
it's not really a thing. I've never met anybody with exactly like what I had.
Or close.
Because a lot of people that had rural upbringings at least had like people nearby and like, you know, like an actually developed farm. Mm-hmm. But ours was like run down after my dad's accident when I was 5. So they sold it. He got crushed by a house. Yeah.
Okay, can we just, if you don't mind elaborating, like you don't think of a house going up into the air and then being
he was working underneath it, and the foundation was poor, and it crushed him, and it just really it really set my family back. So I think that's why I was like so lonely. You know, my dad was fucked up, and my mom was working all the time, and my sister got pregnant at 17. I don't know, I was just kind of like forgotten about in the woods, just dicking off. They sold all the farm equipment, and like they stopped growing the crops, and like they kept one old horse, and that's what I learned to ride on, and it was the grumpiest thing you've ever touched, and it would just like throw me down, and then I would just like get back up and get on it again. It would throw me off, and then I'd get back up and get on it. And
does your family still own the land and everything else?
Yeah,
like that?
they do. Yeah.
Nice. Do you go home often?
Every once in a while. I am really naughty about going home.
I think that's pretty true for all climbers.
I'm like, I'm not rock climbing, man. Like,
I don't think there's.
When I go home, I can't really go rock climbing, even though it's Kentucky. There's so much good rock climbing. It's just like when I'm home, I'm home. I need to be visiting, you know.
Yeah,
like,
I get that. You need to be present.
Exactly. I can't really go home when I'm hardly ever there, and then take off to the Red for like 2 weeks. It's not really right.
No, my
poor mother.
My mom would be the same way. It's like I go home and I'm like, all right, Mom, I'm gonna go down to Seneca Rock, and she's like, you're gonna do what? I'm like, nothing, ma'am.
I know.
Nothing.
I remember when I went to Seneca Rocks, my mom was so like, oh, you should come home. Like, I'm like, Mom, it's like a 7-hour drive.
Mom doesn't know. Nor does Mom care.
No, she don't care.
Mom gets what Mom wants.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, so when I moved to Moab, I actually drove from Kentucky to Moab 3 days after I graduated high school. So I moved to Moab, and it was really cool. Didn't really know about rock climbing, you know.
Why Moab?
Some family stuff. Yeah,
Okay.
my sister.
So you had support structure there.
Not really.
Okay.
I don't know. My sister had 3 kids, and she's a single mom, and she worked in Moab for like the last 2 years of my high school education, and so my parents and I had her kids.
Oh.
Yeah, so when I graduated high school, I took them back to their mother.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's why Moab, because I was giving them chitlins back.
Fair enough.
But I didn't succeed because I ended up staying and taking care of them for another year, and then another year in Grand Canyon.
So were you climbing and doing that all at the same time?
Not at first, because I didn't rock climb when I first came to Moab.
Okay.
You know, I was just anti, you know. I was really into horses. I liked canoeing and kayaking, and I'd go caving with my shithead friends, and yeah.
Okay.
And then I moved to Moab. I just kind of, I thought I was only going to be there for a couple months, but then they ended up needing help for longer, and then I think about 5 or 6 months of being in Moab, I took up rock climbing. And
What was the catalyst that actually, like, was there a sign or a class or someone invite you?
I was driving past Potash on Highway 211, and I had the girls in the car in the back seat. You know, I was going to take them on like a short walk, and like there was all these rock climbers. Because when I first showed up in Moab, it was like summer and it wasn't rock climbing season. And Moab then was like not as busy as it is now.
No, it's changed.
It's very in short period of time. So and there's these rock climbers, and they were having such a good time, and I was like, what the hell? And I pulled over and asked the rock climber what they were doing, and they were like, well, we're rock climbing. And I was like, sick, what do you need to do this?
That's awesome.
And they told me, and I was like, cool. And I knew I had like a few $100 in my account left over from like some scholarships I had gotten because I was going to school online. And I just went to Gearheads, bought a rope and some quick draws and a cinch. Do you remember that thing? And a helmet.
Okay, you got the primary thing there. Wow.
And yeah, I didn't even have a backpack then. It was so funny. And I took the girls rock climbing.
That is fucking awesome. Yes.
It was just like 5'3" slab though.
No, it doesn't matter. That is so good.
I remember the first rock climb I ever did. It was like the 5'7" slab on the far end of Wall Street with the little like roof. And I remember getting to the top of it, and there was 2 quick draws because somebody left them up there. And I had bought this book, How to Rock Climb by John Long.
Yeah, the classic.
Yeah,
I've read
and so
that.
I had been like reading the book and like practicing the shits in my fucking living room. And so when I got up to the anchor, I think that was my first lead climb or whatever. I got up to the anchor, I was like, fucking score! I knew what booty was before anybody explained to me what booty was. Like, I just came from a shitty enough background that I was like, I love free shit.
Okay, I was about to ask you. You need to explain what booty is because most people do not.
Yeah, there was 2 quick draws up top, and I cleaned the route and came down, and yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Booty is it's a long controversial thing. I think it's frowned upon in most situations, but
it's trash on the wall.
It is trash on the wall. It is trash on the wall.
Littering.
I think the big thing is understanding what is booty and what is not booty.
Things that are there to get down that, you know, help the community is not booty. Yeah, like if there is hangers and no rings and you take the rings, you're a dick.
Yes. Or also, what is not booty is like if you go to Rifle, Colorado is a prime example. You'll see a full line of quick draws left on a route, like from start to bottom. That is not booty.
That's not booty.
That's someone projecting. They're working on a route. So like just understanding the difference of that. Like, just
caveat, but good score on you.
It was pretty great. I was psyched.
Yeah, you should be.
I was like, sweet. And then I didn't get any booty for many years after that.
Fair enough.
I remember being like, oh man, the first time was so easy.
Yeah. That's cool. You know, your story and your introduction to rock climbing is so okay, like, hear me when I say this. It is so unique and ununique at the same time. And when I say it's so unique, I haven't heard this story in almost 10 to 15 kind of years.
Interesting.
Like if we were having this podcast 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago, this is very common.
Yeah.
But like, this does not happen. This just does not happen anymore. Like, this is not a modern day occurrence.
Yeah,
like,
that's
because
true.
just like with the way the world is and access to, and I'm not saying everyone's wealthy, access to income or whatever, blah, 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 but like, you just don't hear about people just walking up and like just doing that. And I think it's freaking baller.
Thanks.
I think it's so baller because like, I don't know. I really think this is really indicative of you, and especially the recent stuff that you've been putting out on the gram, like, which I really love. Like, I really love I call them somber moments. That's what I call them. They're my favorite things, and they're probably the things that I earmark the most.
Yeah.
When you have your somber moments and you're just like something has happened, there's a catalyst, but you are just speaking your mind and you're just saying what's happening. And that is very indicative of the climber that you are, and hearing your backstory, it makes so much freaking sense that that's the person you are.
Cool.
And that's the character and the integrity that you carry, because it's not a thing anymore. Like, most people, it's Jim DeCrag, and most people, it's like, or they, I see it, they buy a full trad rack and they buy that, and I'm not even saying that, and there's a lot of situations that's not, but I think the predominant culture of climbing is affluent, white, and that's usually what it is. There is a lot of people coming in now, and it is changing, and thank God, and I'm super excited, and that story is not as common anymore because of that. However, as someone who considers themselves a stegosaurus in the climbing community, and for those of you who are new to my podcast, you have not heard me say this, and what I say is T-Rex and man probably saw themselves. Stegosauruses were long dead before. So I think it's beautiful. I think it's very beautiful, and it's very cool, and it's very, it shows. It makes
flatter me some more. I'm just kidding.
No, but it makes so much sense though. Like, if you look at the way you approach the gram, if you look at the way you approach the content that you put out there, like, I mean, you're real G about it. Like,
thanks,
there's no other way to say it. And it's like, and you started off climbing being real G. It was like, yo, what is this? Motherfucker, I'm on with this. I can get on board with this. I'm cool.
It was way safer than the caving that I did as
caving
a
is so scary.
Teenager with one of my buddies. We did a lot of sketchy things. A lot.
Yeah.
Like, we were soloing chimneys to connect, like a chimney out of a roof, in a passage. And we were just like trying to connect systems to systems, and we were sketchy.
Do you miss caving?
Oh yeah, I love it. I know this sounds fucked up, but the systems in Kentucky are so big.
There's still unexplored caves.
Yeah, and actually, like, my family's like place has a lot of really good deep systems in it, or one good deep system in it, and it actually connects to Mammoth Cave, which is 4 hours away. Like, a cave, I don't know, the smart people came and and surveyed and went in and connected it, and mapped it all out, which was really cool. And so we explored that quite a bit, and it was sketchy to get in it because it was like a drainage, and you would have to, oh my God, this sounds so redneck.
No, hit me with the one time.
You would have to get into it, you would have to burn the front for a few days, because it would accumulate so many like sticks and logs. That
makes sense.
Yeah, because it's the Southeast.
It's not redneck at all. That makes perfect sense.
So we would burn it, and then what would open up was like a man-size like crawl space. You could get like a lantern about height, that was lantern height, and like about 3.5 feet wide. and you would have to crawl through that for probably about 100 yards, and then you'd open up into like a high school sized room, and then it was like these huge like honeycomb like systems. And but yeah, my favorite part of like caving was the really like kind of like tight crawling spaces, and I loved to either get like way ahead of people and then just
You are
like
unique.
turn off the lights
Oh my god! Oh, you
and
are
just like
evil.
lay there.
Oh, you are so dark and evil.
And I
is-
love the silence of like the total silence, but then like you can hear the body scooting behind you, you know, of your buddy.
Can I tell you, if you ever get into writing, you should write a horror movie.
No, this was the best.
No, there was nothing good about that.
No, that was just like that was actually like a better system, but they lowered the lake level at one point, and like, God, this is so sketchy. They lowered the lake level, so then this other system that my buddies and I like to go into, more passages opened up. And I remember there was one that we had never been able to go to because it was like underwater. And when it finally like lowered enough, there was this hallway, and there was about like 5 inches maybe of like air from the ceiling to the water. And I was like, I put my foot down on that because I don't swim very well. So I was like, no, we're not going that way. But my buddy Tyler, who is, I don't know, he was like, I'm gonna do it, it sounds great. And then he just like puts his face at the ceiling and then like swims through the hallway. And me and his brother were just so upset, but we ended up having to follow because Tyler had the keys to the car.
Oh, wow.
This is what we were doing as like teenagers, you know, and like that's why when I started rock climbing, I mean, it seemed pretty safe. It seemed pretty tame. Like, you pull up to Wall Street.
This is why you seem like a masochist.
You, like, park. There's, like, bolts already in the wall. There's a book to tell you how to thread the rope through the chains. Like, an ATC is pretty, like, common sense. It was so different than just, like, you know, being a hillbilly
You're
in
an
the woods.
Amazonian.
No, being a hillbilly in the
No,
woods.
you're an Amazonian.
I
You're
was
like
just
Wonder
really-
Woman / Anna's Amazonian. Like,
I was bored, dude.
if this. Okay, most people for bored play like, you know, Rook or Bridge or, you know,
Yeah.
some random shit.
I think you need someone to play it with.
Oh my, it's solitary. Jesus. Wow.
I also did play The Sims. I mean, that was pretty fun.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Wow.
So,
well,
like, rock climbing wasn't, like, that crazy of a jump. It was just, like, sideways, you know?
no, it was definitely a lateral move for you. I can see that.
Yeah, it was, like... And honestly, like, when I started rock climbing, I thought it was cool, but I really liked, you know, everything else I already did. It wasn't, like, this instant, like, love affair obsession. It was a slow burn.
Is it a love affair obsession now?
Oh, for sure.
So
Yeah.
what was the pivotal moment that actually, like, when was the, you know, like, it's kind of like when you have the DTR in a relationship, or
Yeah.
like it's when you're with someone, you're like, oh crap, I really love this person. Like, when was that moment that you realized that with climbing?
I think it was like around when I was 22 and I was skiing by myself on my 22nd birthday, and like, you know, because you get the free ski pass, and I was like broke, so I was like,
Nice.
I'm gonna take advantage of that.
Yeah.
Because I liked skiing. And yeah, I was just sitting on the lift and fucking my old skis that I had since I was like, I don't know, 14, or just didn't fit me very well. My boots were too big, and I got so grumpy in the chair. I was like, this sucks. I don't even know why I'm here. Like, this hurts my knees, you know, like, this is boring. And, you know, I chose to stay out west, so I didn't, like, have horses. You
Yeah.
know, that was back east, and, like, and I don't swim very well, so I got kind of tired of canoeing and kayaking, and I went whitewater rafting and took the kayak on some whitewater stuff, and I ate shit a bunch.
Yeah.
And I was like,
imagine
man,
so.
I'm a fucking weak swimmer. Like, I don't know, being a jack of all trades and like a master of nothing, and then like not having what I really liked, which was horses and there's no real good caves around. And so I was just like, out of all the hobbies that I've been playing at out here, like rock climbing is honestly the best bang for its buck. Once you buy a rack, it's pretty much set.
Yeah.
The thing that you gotta go through the most is shoes. And
shoes and rope.
And I have had the same, it was just like, so it was like, it didn't cost me anything extra to really go out rock climbing, besides the gas to get there.
Yep.
And so I was like, rock climbing is way better than this other stuff. It seemed like at the time.
No,
And so I
it makes
definitely
sense.
leaned into it. And I got really lucky because I bought a bunch of used cams.
Do you want to start at some point in your life being able to start caving and climbing and riding horses again?
I don't really care as much about caving. That was definitely super fun as a teen. But yeah, no, I miss riding horses all the time. It was like the number one love affair.
That's fair.
Yeah. I remember having a boyfriend and, he was like, oh, if you had to choose between me and your horse, which one would you choose?
easy
And I was like,
answer.
my
The
horse,
horse.
duh, whiskey, duh.
Yeah.
And he was like, what about your dog? I was like, duh, Liesel, I'm choosing Liesel. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. You're not above the horse and the
No,
dog in this
that's
food chain. You're
Yeah,
at the bottom.
Yeah, that's a very immature answer. I think once you get to a certain age, you understand, once you date
Brother,
long
I'm
enough,
not
it's
choosing.
a package deal.
I'm not choosing a dude over my horse or my
No,
dog.
once you date, once you leave high school and you date people who have their own apartments and their own places,
Yeah.
if someone has a pet, you're dating them and their pet.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
is how it goes. There's
Yeah.
no ifs, ands, or
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. So
I'll be honest with you, I knew, we've talked a little bit before and we've been honestly trying to do this podcast for a year.
Yeah.
Phone tag and back and forth and honestly, I'm just kind of a little bewildered just how G that your start really is because it's very nostalgic to me and it's very you just don't hear that a lot and once again, I know I've already said this, but it resonates through the content that you give and it's it's real genuine. I think that's one of the reasons why I don't know. I think that's the reason why you are who you are today, and it you're blessed with to have the ability and the things that you have today is because you are very genuine. You're unabashful about who you are. That's the one thing that I think is probably one of the coolest things about you. You are you, and there's no one else that's gonna tell you otherwise. And you walk in that with a lot of authority. It's cool.
thanks, man.
Yeah, it's real cool. It's real cool. So I guess now knowing a little bit of your story of where you're climbing, your how you kind of came into climbing, what are you trying to do with this thing now? Where are you trying to go with it now? Because I don't know, personally me, I feel you're not at the point where the sky is the limit, but
Yeah.
you are definitely in the airplane, pulling out of the jet bridge and getting ready to get down the taxi down the runway and go, and then and push full throttle and get off and get in the air. I'm sure there's a few strategic moves, business moves, things like that have got to happen for you, and I don't know what those are.
Yeah.
If you know what those are, but it does seem your career is really on a level that it's gonna grow, and please don't take this the wrong way, but the last time I heard career of a woman of your caliber having this was reading about Steph Davis in her early days, reading about Lynn in her early days, reading about these other women who really just kind of came into the sport and made it their own, regardless of whatever situation it is. Now granted, I don't know. Then you read about a lot of sexism and this and that and whatever it
Yeah.
was. And for those of you listening, if you really want to know, go pick up Lynn Hook's book. There are autobiographies and biographies written on Lynn Hill, Steph Davis, and a lot of them. And
Yeah.
I breeze through all of them. But I do feel and whether I'm foretelling or not, but I definitely, and like I said, don't take this as a wrong way, but I feel you are moving into that category, and I think you are moving into that category for, our generation, and I'm not trying to put a lot of weight on your shoulders by
You're
no
not.
means. By no means, because I also think you don't give a crap what I say anyway. You're gonna do what you want to do.
I mean, I feel it is gonna be what it is,
Yeah.
regardless. And I don't know, like, I might have not, I mean, rock climbing might have just been like one more cool thing to explore when I was younger. But it really became just like a deep like love, and it fuels me artistically a lot. And I feel like people know me for, you know, like the physical stuff, but the physical stuff is like just not as important to me as the artistic stuff. And like, that's why I love climbing photography so much. And that's why I spend, like, I can't tell you how much blood and sweat and just heat days I've spent rigging to shoot photos of other people, or rigging so other people could shoot photos of other people, and there's no credit in that, you know. It's just like, but I just love that artistic process, and I don't mind. I like it. I like filming. I really like it. I like editing, and I don't know, I like the whole thing.
Do you have anything coming out that we can like...
Something tonight, yeah. Kaya and I's Girls Gone Wide 2, and yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, and you know, I don't know, there's just a lot of that. And like, I paint, and you know, and I always paint like climbing landscapes, and like, I don't put them out there that often because it's like, I don't know, I do like a painting or two a year. So, and also I'm more protective, I think, over that than I am like, you know, any other activity, because it's more personal.
It makes sense. It's just like we were talking about earlier about like, the internet is forever and social media is what it is, but there has to be, I think, to be a functioning professional, there has to be a certain level of privacy that is maintained. If not, you go insane. Yeah,
I think so. Although I don't take social media too seriously, to be fair.
Fair enough. I mean, I don't think you should. I think, I guess the way I look at this is like, it's not that I take social media too seriously.
Yeah.
It's just the bombardment from other people in my space. And I think the reality is like me working in a city all the time. I'm so connected to everything all the time. And then like a lot of people come up to me physically and like say these things, and which I love and I don't mind. Yeah. But then sometimes when I post some wild stuff that I'm like definitely saying stuff that's gonna piss some people off, or like they kind of come at people sideways, which I don't do often, but it does happen. You know, it's different. Yeah. And I think there is, I don't know, I think you do a really good job of like, you do a really good job of being you do a really good job of protecting your privacy and having all these things, because I think like your photography is definitely becoming more known. I think that's definitely
cool.
That
makes me happy.
Yeah,
I'm psyched.
I talked to Irene about this a few years back when we were talking about linking up before, and Irene was like, she's a badass photographer. That's really what you should.
That's so nice to hear from Irene. She's so skilled.
Irene is a killer.
Yeah.
Irene is I would arguably say Irene is the most creative, empire-building female in the industry. And I want to say she doesn't get enough credit, but something in me tells me that's deliberate right now, because when Irene fully comes out, and fully like Irene's gonna be like UGK, the rapper in the Dirty South in Houston. When she fully comes out, she's gonna be letting out choppers. Yeah. So like, totally. She's just gonna mow people down, and I'm really excited for her. When I'm ecstatic for her career, and I'm ecstatic. I'm very lucky that I got to see like her at one point, and then just explode.
I got to know her before she was like known at all.
Yeah, that's basically when her and I ran into the same point. There's a story actually between me and her, and I don't want to. We will talk about it later. I don't have her permission to say this story. Yeah. There's a few parties involved. I don't have her permission, but I will tell you the story.
Okay,
and it was
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's a very, I don't know if it's a big catalyst, but I'll never forget, she called me out of nowhere, and she was heated. And I was just like, and I remember telling her, I was like, girl, just slay the world. Slay the world. And she has been doing that ever since then. And
I like seeing that out of women. You know, like, I don't know. I really looked up, I was a desert rat. And like, I feel like I grew up in Moab, to be honest. Like, Because, yeah, I was a kid in Kentucky and, like, took care of children in Kentucky, but then I was, like, kind of on my own in Moab and, like, learned how to change my tire in Moab and write a check and, like, do all those things in Moab without my family really near and, like...
It's when you were on your own.
Yeah, and I was 18, you know, and I lived there until I was 28, 29. Yeah, 28? No, 29.
I am so freaking excited for you.
Yeah, and so, that's like, that place feels like my hometown.
Yeah, I can see that.
And so, like, God, I just remember, like, you know, you hear whispers of Steph Davis, and it's so funny. I, like, lived in that tiny town, and I just never ran into her. But I, like, fangirled from a distance so hard.
She's kind of a recluse. It's
okay. I'm, like, totally secretly reclusive myself. I always stick in the like... I
don't think that's a secret.
In Moab, I would always climb with the people who I'd let stay in my driveway because, you know, it was convenient. And now if you live in Moab and you have a house, like, everybody wants to visit and all the time in the spring and fall. And so you're just always in the mode of, like, entertaining people. And so I kind of feel bad that I, like, maybe climbed with too many people outside of the tiny town instead of getting really involved. Until I met Mercedes, and I fell so deeply head over heels in love with our partnership that I pretty much crawled up Sadie's butthole and died.
Oh, my God.
I don't think I came up for air for, like, 2 years. Our boyfriends hated... her boyfriend hated me and my boyfriend hated her. Like, they were so threatened by, like, our friendship and partnership, and just, like, Sadie and I couldn't give a fuck less. We dressed the same. We wanted to work the same routes. Like, I got her a job at where I worked, and, like, we were fucking so far up one another's buttholes, like. And then she dumped her boyfriend and moved into my driveway, and so, like, the butthole she just went further up. And yeah, you know, but it was I felt so sad when she decided she didn't really want to, like, devote as much time to rock climbing. I was like, oh, but me, I'm over here, you want to hang out? She's like, no, there's other things to do. And I was like, Sadie, I already had a bunch of hobbies. I narrowed it down. And she was like, well, I already only had one hobby. I want to try a million things. And I was like, that's fair. We're just going through that stage two different times.
Two different points in life.
Yeah, I did that jack of all trades thing, and then I just really wanted to, like, devote my, like, passion to, like, a couple things, because I learned that, you know, you can do everything kind of half-assed, or you can just do, like, two things really well.
It's funny you say that. My father always said this. He was like, you got two hands.
Yeah.
So you can do two things really, really well.
Yeah.
He was like, pick those two. If you do more than that, one of them has to be supporting everything else.
Yeah.
And he's like, but you really only have two hands, so you can only
can't
do two
a lot.
things. Yeah.
I mean, since I've really started, like, really rock climbing and really enjoying it, like, I haven't painted as much, and my skill in that has kind of, like, plateaued. Like,
you can get that back.
Yeah, and I'm not really, like, stressed about it, but it is true that when you devote, you know, time to learn photography and to do all these things and guiding and going through the AMJ track and, like, all this stuff, like, you kind of have to, you know, you miss out on the other things you like to do.
Yeah, no.
You can't do everything all the time all at once.
No, trust me, I am guilty of that. I've got, like, a million projects all going at once, and I have this I'm filming and this this satirical thing I'm working on, and it's like I've recruited like 4 people for different projects already here, and I'm like, cool, I'll contact you next week and do this. And people are like, how do you manage like 5 different projects all at once? And the only way I've been able to do it is they all fit in the same track. They're either all podcast related or all film. Most of them are film related right now, and it's like the only way to make it work. And even then, it's just like you still have to, like, moderate, like, how you're gonna pull that off.
I mean, that's kind of how it is with climbing and me. Like, I film climbing, I photograph climbing, I paint climbing, I climb, I train for climbing, I teach rock climbing.
I mean, you're so invested in it.
Yeah.
It's like I told my mom one time, she was like, what would you do if you didn't climb climbing? I was like, I'd have to declare bankruptcy. Like, I'm literally so invested in this. Like, if I do anything else, I'm going to be lost and bankrupt.
Yeah.
And she was just like, oh, she's like you're in it. I'm
You're
like,
in it.
Yeah, I mean, and I think at a certain point, like, you kind of have to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you go through phases in life,
Yeah.
but like, definitely, I'd say this is your jam and you're gifted at it.
Thanks, man. I don't know if I'm gifted at it. I learned the movement so slowly.
Okay,
It took me a long time.
Let me take that back. I don't mean just climbing. I mean just, are you a gifted climber? Yes, in the sense that like you can learn climbing, you can put the work. What I say you're gifted at is like, once again, is like just being you and authentically, unabashedly you, and that is what is, I believe, it has allowed you to rise and to be the person you are today that I've seen. Because I remember, like, granted, I've only followed you online, and so like, but I'm basically going off of social media, which is absolutely jack shit and absolutely nothing, and it is like one iota, like one smidget of your actual life. But from the little conversations that we've had and talking to people who know you, and just kind of like, because, not to sound weird, but like I have actively been following your career for quite a while, just because
cool.
There's just something different about you. Like, I don't know what it is, and like I think it's like the amalgamations of like the people that I see in you, but like there's you and like there's like 5 to 6 people in the industry, and you are one of them, and everybody else who's listening to this podcast, you won't find out who they are until I'm actually interviewing the rest of those people.
Nice.
But like, you are definitely one of the people I've followed your career, because I think it's interesting, because the way I say you're gifted is you are gifted in the way that you carry yourself through this whole thing. And it's like, it is undeniable that you love climbing. It is undeniable that you are growing as a person, and you are actively trying to grow. And I think those are just, I don't know, I think those are qualities and traits that are not always they're just not common. Like, people grow through spurts, but like I feel like you feed off of growth to a certain extent. You go through waves, but like you are trying to grow. And like, and in my mind, the thing I see in you that resonates with me so much, it's like grow or die. Yeah,
honestly, grow or die is kind of like the theme of my life. It's interesting. I don't know. I just I never want this to be my limit, and I felt like that my whole life. Like, I never want where I'm at to be the limit of what I'm going to be. I never want that thing that I saw to be the last cool thing that I saw. I never want that experience to be the last of its kind. I just want more. And honestly, there's like a monster that cannot be appeased. I remember when I was a kid, like, people were like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I think I was like under 10 years old. I don't remember. And I said, I want to have every Barbie in the world. And I fucking love Barbies.
Hey guys.
Hey.
Sorry to interrupt the podcast. I have to get into my house or I will die.
Are you going to sleep?
It's your house, so
Get in your
ladies and gentlemen,
house.
we're going to take an intermission because we are in someone else's van life house.
Come in.
But yeah, come on in.
Come in.
Well, I
All right. So, yeah, if you want to hear more of this conversation, you're just going to have to tune in next week. I know it is absolutely terrible that you have to hear such an amazing chat the other end of it, and you're just going to have to wait. But that's how this show goes sometimes. Thank you so much for listening to this episode with Mary Eden. Next week, we'll be dropping the next episode, and I can't tell you how fire it is, because if you have enjoyed this, you're definitely going to enjoy the rest of this conversation. As always, thank you for liking, following, subscribing, and smashing those like buttons and subscribe buttons. And if you haven't already, check us out on our Patreon. And remember, if you're not suffering, are you even sending it all? I mean, you really got to ask yourself the question, is it worth it? Because suffering brings joy, brings value, brings victory, because we work for the things that we love, because we are climbers. So once again, if you're not suffering, you got to ask yourself, are you really sending?
Audio.